Welcome, everyone, to the Airliners International Podcast. Today, we are joined by several very special guests here. I first want to introduce my buddy Connor, Red River Aviation. Please say hello.
Hello.
Then we have Anderson from Syracuse Aviation. Please say hello.
Hello.
And we also have Mark, Gemini Jets 1975. Please say hello.
Hello.
So, welcome everyone to the Airliners International Podcast. This is our first episode of what we hope to become a regular podcast, and we'll be talking about all things Airliners International. We're recording this on the night of May 29th, 2024, so we are exactly 4 weeks out from the upcoming Airliners International Convention in Kansas City, June 26th through the 29th of 2024. For Connor and I, this will be our third time going to the convention, and for Mark and Anderson, it will be their second time. So as we begin, I figured it would be appropriate to look back on last year's convention, which was in Dallas, Texas. And for you, Mark and Anderson, it was your first time going, and you guys heard everything that happened at the Chicago convention in 2022, which was Connor and I's first time, and we'll talk more about our first time a little later in this podcast. So I just wanted to get your guys' perspectives on what it was like for you guys to go to Airliners International for the very first time. And we'll start with Mark on that. So what was it like for you to come to Airliners for the first time?
Well, I had heard from you guys how Chicago was, and since it was going to be in Dallas and so close, I thought it would be the perfect chance to try it. And I had no idea what to expect. I was just going off of what you guys were saying, but going there and seeing everybody, it was definitely, more than words could describe, really. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's certainly overwhelming when you go for the first time. And, admittedly, that was the same feeling that I had, too. And now, Anderson, so tell me a little bit about your perspective of what it was like going to Airliners International for the first time.
Amazing. I mean, it was just absolutely incredible. Not only was it my first time traveling anywhere of a significant distance alone, but just being there with everyone who's all, aviation enthusiasts and tons of aviation events going on, all the models, the plane spotting, everyone just coming together and enjoying the hobby for what it is was just really incredible to see.
Absolutely. And obviously flying alone for the first time, I know you were a little nervous at that at first, but it looks like that went really well, and you'll definitely be doing it again very soon. So now, as we move forward with this podcast, let's take a look back at some of the memorable moments that happened for all four of us. And I'll open this up to everybody here, so I'll have Connor involved as well finally. We'll go ahead and start out with Connor. What was your most memorable moment from the last Airliners convention in Dallas?
Man, you could really go into many rabbit holes with this for sure, but really, it's so challenging, man, because I just 5 moments really just lit into my head, but really to put one together, because I think it was just the absolute climax of anticipation. I really feel like the 3 hours waiting before getting into the ballroom on Thursday morning at Dallas, it was crazy, man. I mean, I just can't stop thinking about everybody being super excited. I mean, we were all down there literally for 3 hours waiting, and obviously JJ's video really shows the value of that and how fun it was. But just the hangout, the anticipation, guys trading models, getting to know each other. I mean, there's no other way to say it besides that's what, the friendship aspect is all about, and obviously getting to know each other. But it's the perfect balance of friendships and aviation. I just think it's so irreplaceable, and it was just an absolute blast. So there was, just people kept flooding in. We obviously started with like 20 people, then got up to 30, and I wouldn't be surprised if we had over 100 people waiting by 11:30 ready to get inside the ballroom. I mean, that was just certainly a climax for me, and it's quite a special moment. So that's definitely for 2023, definitely I think just one that I can't not mention. So what a moment that was.
It was certainly just the enjoyment of being there with everyone and just seeing all these people gather because they want to see what's all inside the ballroom. And obviously you guys, you Connor specifically, and I know Mark as well, you two got to go inside the ballroom the night prior. And unfortunately, I was not there to see it because I was in bed that night.
Oh my
I had to
gosh.
get up early that morning to catch my flight to Dallas. So I was tuckered out by that point. But I will be sure to not miss out on something like that this year if there is an event like that, which I'm guessing, knowing Chris, he'll probably put something together.
Full talent show.
Indeed. Okay, Anderson, now I'll open this up to you. Any memorable moments from your perspective on airliners? Any one specific, or it could even be a few moments? Because I know, as Connor established, it's kind of hard to pick just one specific moment to talk about. You could talk about several of them for hours on end.
Yeah, oh my goodness. So the first thing that comes to mind was the crazy delay that I had when I landed in Dallas after all the thunderstorms and everything got messed up. Waiting on the ramp for, it must have been over an hour and a half, anticipating meeting. It was Connor, Mark, and Andrew that were going to meet me in the parking garage, or really the terminal.
At midnight, by the way.
Yeah, at midnight. So the anticipation building up, that first glimpse of Dallas, just sitting on that plane was unmatched, really. Waking up the next morning to the view of the airport, I mean, really, like you said, you could just go on forever. The anticipation of getting into the ballroom that first morning. And then for me, a big piece of that was at Founders Plaza during the plane spotting. When my flight back to Syracuse kept getting delayed, I was able to spend more and more time, which is really nice. But that last few hours at Founders Plaza, although it was really kind of melancholy, was really, really a fun memory for me in that whole trip.
Yeah, that whole spotting meetup was just incredible. Thank you again, Connor, for putting that all together and organizing it. And a lot of people definitely enjoyed that meetup, and hopefully we can have something like that again in Kansas City. And
many more to come.
Subsequent airliners conventions. It's definitely something to enjoy, regardless of what airport we go to. I know Kansas City is kind of a small airport. They don't get a whole lot. They're going to lose JetBlue service here pretty soon. And really the only highlights they're going to have are Delta 757s that come in from Atlanta every so often. I think it's a daily service too. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
It's like 5 or 6 daily. In fact, so much so that Mark's actually going to be flying out on one, which is super cool.
Yes, that will be very nice for Mark. And speaking of Mark, I'll open up the question to him. What was your most memorable moment from Airliners International in Dallas last year, or even a couple if you want to talk about several?
I would have to say, like Connor said, the 3 hours in the ballroom before, the actual convention opened up, and meeting everyone and talking to everybody, and all of the excitement that just kind of built, and it was just a flood of emotion. And then definitely the spotting meetup at Founders Plaza. That was a very nice exclamation mark to, the whole event. It just, spending money and all the craziness, actually in the ballroom itself, that was, one thing, but you don't get as much of the, the one-on-one and, meeting everybody and talking to them as you do before, and then before the event started, and then at Founders Plaza. Those were I would say the two highlights for me, for sure.
Yeah, the whole agreement is definitely on those several hours before the ballroom. I mean, that's definitely something that I'll say myself too. Just being there outside the ballroom and just, goofing around, having a good time, and just socializing with everyone that started to trickle in as the hours and then the minutes ticked down to the ballroom opening, and those doors being open. It's like a teaser. You just want to run in there so badly, but you just got to resist on doing that, because obviously you're not allowed to be in there unless you're a vendor or working with the convention to get stuff set up in there. But yeah, it was definitely, for my memorable moment, I would definitely agree on the several hours on Thursday morning before the ballroom. And if I had to pick a couple other moments myself, I would definitely pick the talent show
Oh
Thursday
my
night.
gosh, man.
Yes, I know you were gonna.
Oh my goodness.
That was the whole talent show and everything. That was definitely a peak, a climactic moment from the whole trip for me. Just the whole talent show taking off right in front of us. My first time catching one of those UPS 747s. Just an awesome moment with everyone that was there. I couldn't have had it any other way. It was just too perfect of a moment. And I'm fortunate to have that model that Gemini Jets did later that year. I think it was right after Airliners, they announced one of those. Maybe it was because the whole talent show thing became popular in the community.
Oh my
I don't
gosh.
know.
Man.
But yeah, if I had to pick another moment, I'm trying to think any other particular moments that stood out to me while we were all there. Oh yes, this was on the C.R. Smith tour, which I believe, this was on the C.R. Smith tour. It may have been the welcome reception. I don't remember which one. This was with Gavin on the bus, and there was American A321 that was coming in from, I think it was San Diego. Was that right?
We were coming back from the welcome reception, by the way, and yes, it was coming in from San Diego.
Yes, so welcome reception Thursday night, and then it was coming in from San Diego, and then Gavin thought that it was coming in from Savannah, which is in Georgia. So that confusion lasted for a few minutes between he and Connor, and I have there's a whole YouTube short on Connor's channel if you want to watch it, and that whole sequence just unfolds, and it's funny to just listen to the two of them going back and forth on it, and then it's like, and then Connor says, "You're on the wrong runway. You see this? You're on the wrong runway, you idiot."
All sarcasm, by the way, guys,
Yeah.
but he was on the wrong runway.
Yes. We don't try to make fun of people with intent to harm. It's all in good nature.
It's a reference.
But yes, it's a reference, as we like to say around here. But that was another big moment that stood out for me as well. And then one last one, I know I kind of went a little long on this, but one last moment would be just the whole Founders Plaza meetup and everything. That was just incredible. The pizza was really nice, and the trivia was really good as well. The spotting was incredible with all the planes. The only downside of the spotting was that we had no British Airways A380 because the flight canceled on that day, which sucked. So we missed out on it that day, but I think everybody else was able to catch it at some other point in time.
That's why we got more Airliners Internationals coming up, just like Chicago, where we saw it.
Yep, there was plenty of other opportunities, and I've seen several of them now, so I'm very fortunate to have seen as many as I have. And oh yeah, with the pizza, I remember too, with the pizza during the spotting meetup, I downed about 3 pieces of that pizza in like 2 minutes because I hadn't eaten anything the entire day. The only thing that I had was breakfast. I don't remember what I ate that morning, but it was from that morning, and then I did a whole planes and trains tour with Gavin and Andrew. And then what was cool about that tour was it went straight to Founders Plaza. So we got off right at that point, and that began the spotting meetup for the 3 of us. So that was really awesome to just have that cool transition. And then it was a little later in the spotting meetup when Dwight, Citrus Aviation, when he showed up, I believe I did say something like, I haven't eaten anything since that morning. He was nice enough to give me a cereal bar, so I kind of munched on that for a little bit. And then a little later on, there was this bird that tried to harass me for it. It came up pretty close to me, so I tried to walk away from it. There were 2 other birds that were following him. And then the bird tries to fly at me, and I get startled, and I drop the cereal bar on the ground, and then the bird takes it. So I'm like, all right, I'm done with this. I'll just wait until the darn pizza gets here. But
it did arrive.
Yes, it did arrive eventually, and I was able to be fed, so I didn't go completely hungry. So hopefully I don't have another scenario like that again with Kansas City, but we'll see what happens with that. So that's all of our memorable moments from last year's show, and there's definitely many more that we didn't talk about. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about after Kansas City, if we're planning to do another episode after Kansas City, which I'm very much looking forward to.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And then one last part to our looking back segment for Airliners DFW 2023. One thing you wish you bought. There's all kinds of items you can find at these conventions. Thousands upon thousands of items of aviation memorabilia, from your everyday die-cast models to safety cards, timetables, you name it, it's all there. But there's also so many things that we like to pass up on. And admittedly, I've done it plenty of times too, and I'm sure a lot of us here, we've also done it as well. So just one thing that you wish that you bought instead of passing up on it, and you're, kicking yourself every so often every time you think of it because you don't have it. So I'll go ahead and start with Connor on this. What is one thing that you wish you bought at Airliners that you didn't get?
It's not the first time that I've done it, but I busted bad on a 2008 or whatever year it was, American MD-80 1-200. I've been trying to get that exact one for a while because it has the old box on it and it's really nice. But unfortunately, I don't remember if I let it set for 3 days or if I thought the price was coming down. But yeah, I let it go several times, and I think finally Saturday morning it sold. So I busted bad on that one, I'll admit it. But hopefully another opportunity will arise for it. But yes, that was definitely my bust of the day on at Dallas for sure.
That ouch. And I know you already go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, that was a pretty big one. So
I busted.
Yeah,
I busted.
Yeah. Yep. You already have one of those American MD-80s.
I do have the latest release, but that original release I think has the really good nose cone on it, and it just looks so pretty. So always trying to build to the fleet, but hey, there will be another opportunity. But it was a fair price. It was like $125 or $100, whatever it was. I busted bad, but luckily I was still able to have enough money for the Antonov at least, so it all worked itself out.
Yep. I still remember that Antonov. That Antonov was a whole experience.
That would have been the biggest regret if I wouldn't have bought that. But thank goodness there was about 12 of you around me that made me buy that.
Yep, including me.
Including you, including everybody.
Several of us had a camera out, and I remember the guy who was the Butcher USA guy. He was like, "You're on camera," and then that seemed to be the final nail in the coffin that made Connor buy it. But
yes,
yeah, that was fun. All right, Anderson. Now I'll open this up to you. What is one thing that you wish you bought at Airliners last year?
I remember discussing this with you recently. There's a vendor who's been at, I think I've seen on a lot of conventions that I haven't been to, but also the ones I have been to. He sold aircraft tails, like wooden. I think they're either resin or something on the little wooden pieces. Yeah. And there's that Sun Country one, which is my channel logo, and that's always something that I thought would be really nice to have just on a desk or whatever. So that's definitely something I'm going to look out for in Kansas City.
Yeah, those tails are really nice. I've seen them all the shows I've been to, the 2 Airliners and then one day Minneapolis show last fall. So yeah, they'll be there at Kansas City for sure. You'll get another shot, but do make sure to take it as soon as you see it. That's kind of my recommendation with that. And then Mark, what is one thing you wish you bought at Airliners last year?
Well, I mean, it's I was so overwhelmed by all of the stuff in the ballroom, but I can't really remember anything that I passed up on. But I do know not like a particular item, but a couple areas that I really wish I would have looked more deeply would definitely be the books. And Connor and you guys, that we're planning on doing that at Kansas City, so it's not going to happen again. And the other one would be, I guess, airline memorabilia other than models and timetables. And I didn't really look into it as deeply as, I afterwards I kind of wish I did, but thankfully there's another opportunity coming up here, at Kansas City. So I would say the books and then the other than memorabilia.
Yeah, the memorabilia is definitely going to be a big focus for me heading into Kansas City. Definitely looking forward to going through some of the books and the airline guides and all that, because I know you've been really all over that the last couple of months. We've been talking about it. So definitely, I'll set aside a couple of hours in the ballroom to assess those details and those books and everything else. And I know you've given me recommendations to look for a couple of books, so I have them on my own checklist, so I'll be on the lookout for them, and hopefully they're there. And then one thing for me that I wish I bought, I think it was on the last day, if I remember correctly, there was a Republic Airlines t-shirt. I think it was Gavin and Ethan that were around me at this table. And there's this really cool t-shirt for Republic Airlines. I don't remember what the design was like. But they kept pushing me to buy it, and I was like, no, I don't know. I've already spent enough money on this whole show. And I didn't get it. And now looking back on it, I kind of wish I did, so then I'd have another shirt to work with. But I mean, there's always other chances to get that. And then if I find that Republic shirt, I can't remember the design, unfortunately. If I do find something like that again, I'll be sure to pick it up, because I already have a North Central shirt. I just have yet to get a Republic shirt to complete that sort of era with the local service carriers out of the upper Midwest in the 70s and 80s into Republic. So that's all of the stuff looking back on Airliners in Dallas last year. So we move from looking back now to looking ahead to Airliners International in Kansas City, June 26th through the 29th. At the Hilton Kansas City Airport Hotel. If you're looking for more details on what Airliners International is like, there's multiple resources that you can access. We have the community content playlist from Airliners International 2023 that you can most certainly take a look at. There's more than 200 videos in there from dozens of people. You'll certainly not get bored looking through that playlist. And we're still adding new content as well. And I know, Connor, you still have a couple videos yet to be posted. I don't remember what topics they were, but you do have a couple that.
Yeah, I got a couple of reflection videos, a couple of photo collages, a couple of clips. So definitely have at least 3 or 4 more videos as of the time of this podcast being recorded to get out for everybody.
Yeah, so and then I think I talked to someone else too. They have some model reviews they'd like to get done too. So we'll likely have about 250 videos here before Kansas City, assuming that everything gets out on time, but we'll definitely hit the 250 video mark at some point. Other resources that you can access if you want some more details, there's the Airliners International website, which has pretty much everything you need to know on the convention, and where you can get registered and sign up for tours and do all that fun stuff. There's also the AI 2024 preparation playlist that Connor and I have done. There's about 3 videos in there right now, and we're waiting to do a 4th video, just waiting for some news to come out regarding seminars and next year's location, which has yet to be announced. We're hoping that it comes out soon, but we're just waiting for those details to be finalized before we get that announcement. So there's plenty of resources out there, and if I forget any, I'll be sure to mention them a little later in the podcast, or they'll be linked somewhere in the video description, and you can take a look at those as needed. But as we look ahead to Airliners International in Kansas City, which is 4 weeks away, 28 days from this podcast being recorded, it's coming quickly, and it feels like yesterday we all went our separate ways after Dallas. So what are we all excited about for Kansas City? And I'll go ahead and start with Connor on this topic.
It's a very long list, so I'll do my best to consolidate it. But first and foremost, Aviation is great, but I'm just looking so forward to seeing all of you again. The friendships have just been so fun to develop. So that's definitely what I'm most excited about, is to see all my friends again. But admittingly, I am absolutely super stoked for all the tours. Admittingly, I was a little unsure about what to expect with Kansas City when it was announced last summer, but now that we have confirmation for the TWA Museum, which will be a barbecue event on Friday night, and Jet Midwest, the TriStar experience, and unfortunately I'm going to miss the weather tour and all of those, but it's going to be really awesome to get to check out all of these amazing places and amazing airplanes. There's going to be so many awesome tours. So really excited to get to participate in several of those. That's going to be really fun. So excited to see what the ballroom's like. And I think we have several new vendors this year, so that should be really cool. I think there's going to be some different places we're branching into, like skin tags and whatnot. So I'm super excited for the branch out there. I'm really excited to finally check out some seminars this year. I've never got a chance to do that, which is crazy on year 3, but I'm finally going to be able to check out the seminars. So I'm really excited to see what those are going to be all about. So that's really exciting. I'm also extremely thrilled to get to see so many awesome people. Noel Phillips is going to be the banquet speaker, and he's going to have some seminars, so I'm looking forward to those. I'm looking forward to seeing Chris Slimmer and all the guys, all the references, all the jokes, the spotting meetup. This is going to be loaded. There's not going to be any dead time at all. I'll be coming in Wednesday morning, and from Wednesday morning all the way to Saturday night, it's going to be bam, bam, bam. There's not going to be any dead time at all. So I'm also looking really forward to getting maximum efficiency. Mark was hinting at it, since we're going to be spending time looking at books and other aviation memorabilia that last year I think we were just so overwhelmed that didn't really come to mind in the moment. But this year, now that we are holding each other to it, we're going to be doing that. So it's going to be a really good balance of all that, and I'm so excited to just see everybody again, just have a great time. And sure, there's not going to be as many big wide body airplanes per se, but I think the tours and the museums are really going to make up for it, because we admittingly do have some of the most unique tours that you could do. It's not every day that you can get a TriStar and a 747 Sands in the same trip. So I'm very stoked for all that. So it's going to be awesome. I'm looking super forward to it, and it's going to be quite a memory, to say the least.
Yeah, God, the Sands 747 SP. There's your wide bodies right there.
Exactly.
If you want wide bodies in Kansas City, go do the Jet Midwest tour. But the unfortunate part is there's only one spot left on all the 8 tours. They just flew off the shelves, the availability. My goodness.
Man.
And ironically, the one spot that's left is the tour that Connor and I are doing. So if anybody wants to claim that spot, please do so. And then we can officially completely sell out the Jet Midwest tour. So be sure to do that. First come, first serve. Okay, Anderson, what are you most excited about for Kansas City this year?
Man, really everything. But the main thing that pulls it all together is not just the aviation aspect, but doing it all with like-minded people, or even meeting new people who may not have experienced something like this before. I think a lot of those people have had a good time in Dallas and any previous conventions they might have been to. But just doing everything with all of the awesome people there and all my best friends is just really something very special.
It's really hard to move away from those friendships like that when you've been with them for so long. We'll definitely have some new people coming. I've talked with a few people that have not yet been to Airliners, and they're going for the first time in Kansas City, so excited to meet them. And now we'll move it over to Mark. What are you most excited about for Kansas City?
Well, definitely I'll be able to spend more time in Kansas City than I did in Dallas, which is odd since I live closer to Dallas. But I know what to expect a little bit better this time. So, spending more time so you have more time to spend with, like everyone has said, like-minded individuals, friends, develop new friendships, all of that stuff. So I think that's going to be that, and along with the extra time is going to be the tours, which, on paper seem to be overwhelmingly better than the tours at DFW last year. And being able to see all of that very nice aviation history and, just actual, real life stuff, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, the only notable tours they had from last year, it was the C.R. Smith Museum, and they had some Ram tours at DFW, but they were very limited. They only had 20 spots on, I think, two times, and they went in 90 seconds. And they only had them open for members of the World Airline Historical Society, which we do recommend joining, by the way. Membership's only $10 a year, so it's very, very affordable. But yeah, they went quickly, and while there isn't any ramp tours for Kansas City necessarily, I would consider like the TriStar experience and Jet Midwest ones to be like ramp tours in a way. Because while you're not necessarily on like around the terminal like Kansas City, you are on some part of the airport property that usually people don't get allowed to be on. So that's definitely one way to look at it. And I think that's a good segue into what I'm most excited about. I'm definitely looking forward to the TriStar experience because I have yet to be up close and personal with an L-1011. And the one that they have there in Kansas City It's one of only 2 fully intact surviving examples left in the world. The other one, which is the only airworthy TriStar in the world, as far as I understand, which is a Stargazer one based out in, I believe it's Mojave, California. That's been flying around a little bit too, and I know someone that was very fortunate enough to spot it out of there, which is pretty cool. Would be nice if that flew to Kansas City while we were there, because then we could have a really cool shot of those 2 TriStars, something that you don't get to see anymore. Last time you would have seen that was back when Delta had all those TriStars, and you go to Atlanta and you see them all. So yeah, the TriStar experience I'm very much excited about. Just excited to get back into the ballroom again and find all kinds of cool stuff, and I've already got a few items lined up that I'll be getting. And Connor, again, I thank you so much for helping out with a recent trade that we've been doing. And I know you helped me get a model that I've been looking for. And while I did find one of similarity, the North Central DC-930, I got one from Net Models. You found the Aero Classics one at the Chicago One Day Collectible Show on May 11th. So $25 for that. I still can't believe you found it for that much. You never find a North Central model for that low of a price.
We'll be talking more about collectible shows on this podcast, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's tons of collectible shows out there.
There's a bunch of hints out there, guys, so stay on the lookout.
Yep. Be sure to hit up the ones that are in your area. So very much looking forward to stuff like that. And then obviously just being with everyone again. That's the big selling point with this convention. It's not just the ballroom. It's about being with friends and like-minded individuals and just making those connections. Making memories that will last a lifetime is how I've put it in some of my posts about airliners. All right, so we kind of move on from that, and I know we've been talking a lot about friendships and all that, and I think that's a good segue into the next question that I have. Who are we most excited to meet? And we'll go ahead and start with Connor. Can be anyone that's going to the convention or maybe a seminar speaker. Can be anybody that will be at Airliners. So say who you are most excited to meet.
Noel, dude. I've never met Noel, and I really want to meet him, so I'm hopeful that will be the person that I meet. But everybody for sure, but definitely he stands out of the list.
Yeah, I remember seeing he made a little cameo in one of my videos. I remember, since he was obviously there and he had a seminar, which is really surprising. I didn't think that they would get someone like him out there.
I'm excited to see what he puts on his table too.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see what he's got coming for Kansas City. I'm a bit surprised he hasn't put anything on his socials yet, so hopefully that's coming around soon. But just excited to see, what he's going to be up to, other than being the banquet speaker and having a seminar and having a table there too, which is pretty cool. All right, I'll move the chips over to Anderson. Who are you most excited to meet at Kansas City?
I have to say Noel as well. I've been a fan of his trip reports and all the content he's had on his channel. I'm not entirely sure when the seminars and all that's taking place.
They haven't been announced yet, so you're good.
Okay, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm not going to be staying for very long, just like Dallas, unfortunately, due to some conflicts. But if I'm there for the seminars, great. If not, I'm very excited to meet him at his table or wherever he may be.
A lot of fans of Noel Phillips around here. I gotta start watching his stuff more, because admittedly I don't look at too much of his stuff. Really, the only trip reporters that I watch are Jeb Brooks, which I hope he's there.
Oh man, I hope he goes. That would be so cool. We gotta everybody send him an email to his email, please.
Yes, and Connor did the same thing last year in Dallas, and he got a reply back from Jeb, which I thought was awesome. So
let's hope that continues.
Yeah, so we know that he knows about this show, so we would hope he comes out, he can make a video on it, and look at the reach that he has.
Man.
If I let me pull up his YouTube channel right now on my
I think he's got like around here. Is he like a little like 550,000 or so? He's definitely in
How about 776,000 right now?
Man, my bad.
He is closing in on 1 million fast. So, but yeah, he makes great trip report content. It's not just like aviation stuff. He makes trains, buses, boats, just any method of transportation he's probably been on before, and he's done quite a lot of stuff. He and Suzanne, the creative director at greenergrass.com. Yeah. He and Suzanne, they are a great duo, so I will say that.
Dream team.
They are. Yep. Okay, so we got Anderson on the questions, and I'll move it over to Mark. Who are you most excited to meet? Is it Noel or is it someone else?
Well, I don't know if there's necessarily any specific person, but I would say definitely people that have that this is going to be their first time, and to see their reactions, because I remember what it was like, first time I went, and, how crazy it is. So just kind of, you compare notes, make new friends, stuff like that.
Yeah, the first timers are going to be really fun to meet, and especially, the new people that you've never met before.
Yeah.
And just being with them, that's definitely, I would have to agree on that too. The people that are going for the first time, because I know, as I mentioned earlier, I know several people that are going to be going for the first time, and that was the case for Dallas too. There was a lot of people going for the first time, and I'm guessing they heard about Airliners through Connor and I's content that we pushed. We promoted the crap out of the convention then, and we still are as well, getting the word out there as best we can, trying to do what we can to help make this convention last as long as possible once the new generation takes over. Yes, for forever as well. So that way we can hand it off to the next generation when our time comes to an end in about 50 years. I don't know. Hopefully it's more than 50, because I'd like to be part of it for as long as possible as well. So yeah, for who I am excited to meet, I'm obviously excited to meet everybody, all the people that I'm with, and people like Connor and Anderson and Mark. They're all great people to be around, and they've been some of my closest friends for the last couple of years. And being with all three of them last year in Dallas was certainly surreal at first, because I remember meeting Mark. It was at the C.R. Smith Museum on the tour, because you had booked that tour as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So I was talking with a couple others. I was talking with a couple other individuals, and then you just kind of showed up out of the blue. It was like, wow, there you are.
He's tall.
Yes, he is. He's about
6'6".
Correct me if I'm wrong on this. Like 6 foot or so.
6'4".
6'4". I was being generous, but he's tall.
Yeah. Yeah, so he is tall. You'll be able to spot him easily. So just keep an eye out for him. I'm sure he'll wear a shirt that's very unique to him, whether it be a Delta Widgets shirt, or maybe a Braniff shirt, or even a TWA shirt to fit the theme for Kansas City, since that's kind of what the whole theme of this convention's about, with all the red, the mojo, the red color everywhere, and that's kind of the graphics I've been making, trying to fit that theme with the red color, because the TWA red is a really nice color. They picked some great. They had a great palette of colors with this year's convention. I've been able to
logos are so fantastic.
Cool that. Yeah, they kill it with the logos, I tell you. So yeah. Okay, we continue on now, and we look at some of our white whale models. And for those that may not be familiar with that term, it's basically a term that describes anything that you've been looking for a very long time, and they're really high on your checklist, like things that you really, really, really want, but at the same time, they can be very, very, very hard to find. And I know I've got a few myself, and you, Connor, Mark, Anderson, you guys probably have your own fair share, so I'll go ahead and ask you guys what your white whale models are. So I'll go ahead and start with Connor.
Yeah, I could go on for days, but a couple that immediately come to mind, not all of which I don't think I would be able to get all, but I mean, definitely a handful. The American Fokker 100 and 1-400 would be absolutely awesome. So, yes, got to mention that first. But Saab 340, ATR 72, ATR 42. You got planes like the Southwest Slam Dunk 1, among some of the other special liveries they've had. I really wish somebody would do a United A320 EVA Blue, but we don't have any of those, so can't really look for those. But what I can look for is like United Delta 11s, and I definitely am always interested to expand on new international carriers for my fleet. So whether that be an airline like, I'm just throwing out some that come to mind, like let's see. Maybe like an Egypt Air or a Singapore, always looking for unique planes like that. I'm also absolutely on the hunt for any corporate models just to really expand in that realm. And then definitely really high priority is always looking for all the Aero Classics planes that just never really make it to eBay. And same could go for old Gemini jets as well. They just immediately come out of nowhere at these shows. So I'm definitely looking for quite a variety, but those first few that I mentioned, and then, I hate to say that quite a few of them have been done lately, but like the Delta 175, American 900, Delta 900, several have been done. So there's still a long ways to go on the throwback planes, though. So American Fokker 100, ATRs, even like a couple of different American 707 variants, so on and so forth. So there's definitely a wide array of aircraft that I'm looking for. But I'm not, I haven't even really put a list together, with how many planes I've got. It's kind of out of control. So I just kind of buy. So I'm definitely have a nice list though. So hopefully we'll be able to get all those along with the new releases as well.
Yeah, you had to mention the one of them that's on my white whale list.
Here's
too,
I'll mention the Frontier 732 to save you 2 seconds as well.
God. I can't find those things to save my life. I mean, good Lord, those things are just so difficult to find.
Correct.
Jeez. I'll get to that when we get to my part. But for now, I'll move it over to Anderson. Do you have any white whale models, any models that you have been wanting to add to your collection, but you just cannot find and you're hoping to find in Kansas City?
Definitely in Dallas, I know actually it was Gavin who got a Delta 747-400 by Gemini. I know they've been floating around on eBay occasionally. I haven't really looked too hard as of late, but if there is one that shows up at Kansas City for a decent price, that is definitely something that I would like to pick up for my fleet.
Yeah, those Delta 747s are nice. I have one as well that I got a long time ago. I need to do a retro review on that, so I'll have to add that to my list of models to take a look at. But yeah, Mark, what are your white whale models? And I know you've got quite a lot of models, and you have one of the models that I have on my white whale list too. And I think we all know, it's one of the two that Connor's mentioned already. Yeah. But which ones are you looking for?
I mean, my white whale list has changed quite a bit over the years. I've found several of them. There's a whole slew of them that have not been made. But if I were to only stick to models that have been made, honestly, I would say the NG Delta Elton 11500. I love the Elton 11500, and when I do, when you do classic model airports, I want to have, Delta transatlantic service, or if I get really brave, maybe I'll do, a trans-Pacific flight with one, but that's a whole, a different story. But yeah, as far as models that have been made now, I would say it's that NG Delta Elton 11500. There may be something else that I'm just not thinking of, but it's mostly stuff that has not been made. That's mainly what's on my white whale list now.
Yeah, and those Delta TriStars, goodness, those things are incredible. The NG ones are just drop dead gorgeous. I just wish I could have one. I'm definitely keeping an eye out for one. Well, for my white whales, Connor had already, I guess spoiled, for lack of a better term, two of them already. The American Fokker 100 and the Frontier 737-200. I don't know why, but those things are so rare, and every time I see them on eBay, they are selling for a truckload of money. I think, let me pull up eBay real quick while I'm at it, just so I have some documentation to back up my words.
A reference.
I don't want to be going on a limb here and saying that this went for X amount, and that actually isn't true. So I want to make sure that I have some documentation. And what's unfortunate is, there is only $62.99. Why was I not looking at eBay at this time? Good Lord, I really dropped the ball on that one. Okay, well, that was certainly not something I was expecting to find, but hey, that's why you check. But let me see when that one sold, because I think that one may have sold, what was it, April 30th. Okay, so that's like a month ago, so I don't have to feel as terrible about it. But usually in the past, because right now I'm not seeing any right now, usually I see them go for several $100s minimum. I don't know why they're worth so much. They just are. I just have to roll with it and just make it work. Now for the Frontier 737-200, this is with the Solbass livery, so this is the original Frontier. Looks like one recent one has sold for, well, there was a best offer accepted, but it was listed for $130. So I imagine it may be sold for closer to $115 or $100, depending on whatever the buyer offered, which is obviously not disclosed by eBay. But yeah, those Frontiers, I've seen them sell for like $300, $400, $500. Again, I don't know why. They're just so rare, and the value of them is just driven through the roof. And that's why I've just been demanding Aero Classics to do another one of them, because they're so hard to find on the secondhand market, and I've just not been lucky enough to find one for a good deal. And then some of my other white whale models that I would hit up on. The third and final one, this is like my white whale trifecta for my retro FSD project. The Western 737-200 in the Flying W livery. And thankfully I already have a Flying W plane. It's the 727 that I got at last year's Airliners convention, which I was very happy about. That one I spent about $60 on, so pretty good deal on it. But to checking eBay for the Western 737, it's selling, one sold for $88, and there's been a couple of them in the old livery that evidently did not sell. I'm a bit surprised. So maybe it is still on eBay. I should probably get that one too, because I think I need that as well for a brief time, since they had that livery up until about 1970, the older Indian head livery, as they call it, before the Flying W came in. That livery, I think, is much better. I like that one more than the Indian head livery, in my opinion. And then just other white whale models that I have. Mark already hit on this, but the Delta TriStars, the NG one specifically. I'll take a Gemini one if there is one available, because it'd just be nice to have. But maybe if I do get a Gemini TriStar, then I'd have to get the NG TriStar 500, because that'd be very nice to have. The NG TriStars, they killed it with those models. And I know they made some in 2022, and I'm just like, I should have gotten it when they released it, but I didn't because I was lazy. But I'm not making that mistake again if they do another TriStar of much value to my collection. I'm glad I have one of them already, the TWA TriStar, which is very fitting for the theme of this year's convention in Kansas City. So very happy about that I got a couple years ago. So we continue on. We have one last little segment here to our looking ahead segment. Any other memorabilia that we're looking for? And I know we've kind of hit up on this a little earlier. Connor and Mark, you two were discussing the books and stuff that you would be looking at. So, setting aside a few hours to look at that stuff. But for you, Connor, is there any other memorabilia that you're after in Kansas City?
I'm always looking to expand, and I definitely want to buy items that I don't already have. So, for instance, the other day I got my first annual report, so that's really cool. And I also got my first Air Atlas from United. That's also sweet. So I definitely am trying to go for a balance of trying to find items that an airline I don't have, an aircraft I don't have, a type of memorabilia I don't have. I'm always looking for just a new piece in general. So like a first, I would love to get my first blank, so definitely looking for those. But as for more particular memorabilia, I have a good handful of old American safety cards. I never would have a problem adding more of those. I really want an old Southwest safety card. I really don't have any, so I really would like an old Southwest safety card. I'm not picky. I just want some sort of format. I have a couple of Delta and Uniteds, but I would not have any hard feelings about, especially Delta. I need some more Deltas. I have a handful of Uniteds, but I'd like to get some more old Delta safety cards. I definitely want to keep expanding in the timetable front. I know we briefly touched on that with the books, but I really want to spend some time with Mark and really dive into some really maximum efficiency timetables for my fleet dating back to especially the 50s and 60s. I need somebody, hopefully Mark will help me get better at reading those and so on. So I need to get better at reading those. So I definitely want to work on some timetables there. And then again, I just want to expand on, okay, well, if I don't have whatever, a keychain, I want to get a United keychain. I just want to keep expanding on items that I don't already have and just find really good value. And I wouldn't mind trying to get some more items that I could, display in my room. For example, I have a United Airlines Colorado poster with a DC-6 on it. So, just practical type memorabilia. I don't mind getting 100 safety cards and putting them in my container, but I also would be delighted to find some that I can display around my room efficiently. So all balanced, obviously, but definitely timetables, first type memorabilia, a couple of old Southwest and Delta safety cards, and any other, I'd love to get maybe a little bit of glassware and whatnot, but I also got to keep in mind that I'm going to be bringing home a bunch of models, and I'm not driving this year, so I'm a little limited, so I got to be mindful, but definitely going to be trying to shoot for flat items. Paper writing will be my best ticket on this, so definitely shooting for it all, and I can ship it back, find some really cool memorabilia, which, if for anybody that doesn't know, these conventions always have shipping services, so you can get your item shipped back, so don't think it's ever a limitation. If you do want to buy X item, you can ship it to your house, which is great. So definitely looking to expand, but just looking for more new items. And then if I had to pinpoint one, probably some old Delta and Southwest safety cards.
That's certainly a good assessment there. I definitely want to add some new items as well. But at the same time, I do want to keep a good, consistent collection. So I don't want to expand too much because I don't have much space. And admittedly, I don't have a whole lot of space right now. I need to either get my own place or perhaps redo my entire room and just start, or take over another room in my
Or ship it
house.
to my house because I need more crap, don't I? It's not crap, by the way, guys. It's just items, I promise.
Yeah, it's a reference.
It's a reference. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen how much stuff you've got and the photos you share with me on, what you're doing and, like little BTS behind the scenes
I got
content
Tetris in
that-
my room right now.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Maybe Connor will talk a little more about that. I don't know. Maybe if you do watch, if you do pay attention, if he has like a webcam on some of the videos that he does, and you look in the background, it's kind of easy to see.
My parents are going to kick me out here pretty soon, so we're going to have to go through and do a full live stream of going through all of this. So we're definitely going to be looking at it sooner than later, gentlemen.
Yeah. And again, I don't want to put you on the spot for this. I'm not trying to do that.
Hey, man, if you get good deals on this, if you're getting safety cards for 50 cents a pop, you can't say no to that. If you're getting models for $15 a pop, why would you say no to that too? You could look at it from an investment standpoint if you want.
Yes, that is true. I'm not here to disagree with that. It's definitely something that I wouldn't want to pass up on either. And I've gotten models for
and definitely
really good deals
shows the
past.
value of conventions like Airliners International.
Yes, indeed. All right, Anderson, any other memorabilia that you're looking for in Kansas City?
So I'm a pretty big collector of mugs and stuff like that. I have a whole shelf full of mugs. So I would like to see if they're around, maybe some old vintage, like first class, drinking mugs or whatever. I'm also a pretty big coffee drinker. So anything that's a little bit more modern that has some kind of airline logo on it would be really fun. But I think Connor mentioned dishware as well. Really any kind of mugs, maybe some plates, silverware, anything like that would be really neat to add to my collection. Even though I don't really have anything yet, could start a new little display table or something like that would be really cool.
That would be really nice. I'd like to see how that all turns out when you get like a bunch of, let's say, Empire Airlines silverware. If that exists. But I'm guessing it does.
Yes.
Empire is so cool, man.
If that doesn't exist, let's go with US Air or US Airways, because there's got to be plenty of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely. Maybe I should pick up some silverware myself because we have plenty in my house, but we go through them rather quickly because we make a lot of meals at home at my place. So having a little more silverware probably wouldn't hurt too much. Even if it does have a little airline logo on it, it doesn't really matter. It's just a thing. It serves the same purpose as a normal fork or spoon or knife, whatever it might be, whatever kitchen utensil. That's something I'd like to add to. And then I'll move it over to Mark. Any other memorabilia that you want to look for besides the books that I know you've talked about earlier?
Well, I mean, definitely want to help Connor with his timetable thing. I'm always excited or happy or both to get anybody into timetable collecting because it's a nice way to look into an airline's history without having to buy a book. And some airlines don't have books that you basically have to find timetables in order to know where they flew and stuff like that. So that's going to be fun. But as far as actual, I'm going to try to concentrate more on, I don't know necessarily things that I don't have, although that would be fun, but maybe like ticket jackets, because there's, definitely people who like to collect ticket jackets. I got kind of crazy with postcards at Dallas, so I'm probably not going to look at postcards too much, except for maybe airport postcards, not necessarily airline postcards.
Magnets. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I definitely want to get some more magnets too.
There you go.
Magnets are very nice. But yeah, going back to the postcards, I remember you went through an entire box of them. I don't know how many you got, but it looked like you got quite a few. I have a clip of that as well. So I
had to have been 100. I had to have gotten like 100 postcards.
Oh my God. How much were they each? Like $1?
Some were less, but Yeah, probably an average about $1. They were pretty reasonable.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So $100 for 100 postcards or so. That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah.
I have quite a few myself, but a lot the ones that I have all been, the free ones that you get in the booty bag for all the registered attendees. Which, by the way, if you do register, you get a nice little booty bag that has some really cool small items. Usually, there's like a timetable in there. There's a pin,
TWA safety
convention.
card. Just kidding.
There you go.
Maybe safety card is in there. Last year it was Delta 753s, at least in mine. I had 3 of them because my parents went along as well, but they didn't go to the convention. They had their own plans, which is totally understandable. And then in Chicago, there was a United 727 safety card I got in mine. So there's some really nice ones, and I think they may have some TWA theme stuff in there because that's obviously the big theme that they're going with this year's convention, which makes sense because if you don't know, TWA used to be based out of Kansas City for a long time, and then they moved their base in the Midwest over to St. Louis because when they built the new Mid-Continent International Airport, which is the current Kansas City International Airport, they had the semicircular terminals, and there was a whole bunch of hijackings that happened in the 70s, mainly to Cuba, so they had to increase security, and with the way that the terminals were designed, they had to install checkpoints at multiple different places instead of having just one centralized checkpoint spot at the terminals. So TWA, they didn't like it, and then they had to, and Mark, correct me if I'm wrong on any information I'm saying here, because I think you would know better. They didn't like it. They wanted a whole rebuild of the terminals and whatever. And Kansas City was like, no way, we can't do that. It would cost us too much. And then TWA, they packed up their hub operations, moved it over to St. Louis, and then that became a big hub. And now today it's more of a thing for Southwest. They've really adapted to that market well. So St. Louis is still holding on strong. But Kansas City, they kind of has a little bit of a fall off there, but they have since recovered nicely. They had some transatlantic flights for a time on Iceland Air, but they don't have that anymore. Hopefully they get it back soon. I think Iceland Air has expressed interest in coming back. So they'll definitely be back on the same level as a lot of other mid-sized airports that have transatlantic flights now, like San Antonio, for instance. They just got Condor service a couple weeks ago. I'm very excited about that with the A330neo there.
Definitely.
And then as for me, any memorabilia I'm looking for, the main thing that I'm about is timetables. I have about, if I'm looking over my timetable collection here,
40?
I would say about 50, 60 maybe.
Oh, man.
At least 40 for sure. But yeah, I have quite a few. I'm definitely looking to add some more timetables this year. By the way, there's a really good timetable guy. His name is David Keller. He goes by DK0 on eBay. He has a massive eBay store that just has tons of timetables. You could search up any airline from any year. There's a good chance he probably has it in stock. And if he doesn't, he probably has something very close to it. I bought from his eBay store several times. Great seller and a great guy to buy stuff from. So I've been very happy with his service. And I've added a bunch of cool timetables into my collection. And I bought from his table at Dallas last year. And he noticed that I was a past customer, so the recognition there is nice. So he does recognize the loyalty, so very appreciative of him. An older gentleman, but he certainly makes a nice living off of the eBay store. At least I'm not sure if he does anything else. If that's only like a side hustle that he has, or if he still has a full-time job elsewhere. Whatever he does, I don't know. But either way, he does have a really nice eBay store, and he will be there. He'll have at least several tables that you can buy timetables from. So be sure to check out his table if you're going to Kansas City, because he'll have a lot of stuff there. So just keep that seller on your keep that vendor on your list. David Keller is the name, so just remember that. And look for a bunch of timetables at a table. You'll find it right there. So that's what I'm really big into with other memorabilia, the timetables. Okay, so we have talked all about Kansas City, what we're looking forward to, who we want to meet, some of the models that we want to look for, the white whale stuff, and then just other memorabilia we're on the hunt for. So now we'll move into our last segment, which is sort of the value that Airliners International has within our lives. So the first thing I want to talk about in this segment is just how we found out about the convention and how it came to be as to, how we're such big fans of it now. For Connor and I, we found out about it through word of mouth, and then for you, Mark and Anderson, it was basically the same thing because we kept talking about it whenever you guys were around. But I think that's kind of how the convention's been spreading around for the last 40 years. Just word of mouth, people talking about it to other people, and they spread it around. Kind of the old-fashioned way of how things spread around prior to the internet taking over, and that's how everything spreads around these days. Now it's the internet. Admittedly, airliners they are starting to adapt to the internet now, mostly thanks because of people like Connor and I that have been making constant videos on it and talking about it and just promoting the convention in a way to make it more not necessarily mainstream, but just a lot more aware for other people. So basically, yeah, how we found out, how all of us found out, was just the old-fashioned word of mouth, which is certainly not a bad way, but its effectiveness only lasts so long, especially in this day and age. So there's definitely a lot of time to adapt to more modern ways to spread things and advertise, promote, you name it. There's tons of other ways that can happen over time. And then for Connor and I, as I said at the start, this will be our third year going. So that means we have been to the convention before. Third year for Kansas City this year. Our first time going was 2022 in Chicago, and that was awesome. Wasn't as bombastic as Dallas was because I didn't do any tours, and I think Connor, you didn't do any tours either in Chicago.
That's correct. I actually wasn't for sure going to be able to go until about a month before. I think I got my tickets in mid-May 2022, so I barely was able to sneak in good prices on that. So no, I missed it by a long shot on tours.
Yeah, I mean But that did give us a lot of time to just focus on the ballroom and what the convention is like, and just get a feel.
Oh yeah, I bet we spent probably 20 hours in that darn ballroom.
Yeah,
we were in there a while, which was great.
Yeah, and speaking of spending, and I know you like to give me crap for this. Yes, I went through $1,000 in about 30 minutes. So I know Connor's mentioned this in a couple of the preparation videos, but for those that may not be aware, Chicago, the show opens Thursday at noon, and I go through my budget in about 30 minutes or so. It was before, whatever amount of time it was before Connor even got to the hotel, because you were still on your way to Chicago from Tulsa at that point.
That's correct.
I don't even think you landed, and by that point I had already.
I landed, looked at my phone, and I saw that you said that you spent all your money, and it was like $1,242 or whatever it was.
Yeah, it's
well done.
Ludicrous figure. Yeah, so you've given me some crap, and some of it rightfully so. I'm not here to disagree with that. It's definitely
looking out for you, sir.
Yes, I'm aware, and thankfully I put that advice to good use. That I didn't go through my budget in Dallas in 30 minutes. It was a little more spread out over the course of the 3 days of the show. Because last year I was able to go all 3 days. With Chicago, I was only there until Saturday morning, so I missed out on the last day of the convention. But I know you stayed there, I believe, on that last day.
I was there for half the ballroom time, yes. My 777 to Denver left at like 3.
Yep. Yeah, and you got to go on a United 777 on the way back.
First wide body.
Yeah, the first 777
amazing
built,
memories.
If I remember correctly.
That is exactly right. 777 Uniform Alpha.
Yeah, the odds of that happening are astronomically low for your first
cool
wide body flight. So
yes,
that was certainly fun for you.
Yes,
I drove to this one. It was an 8-hour drive, and I had to split it up. Stop in Rochester, Minnesota on the way there. Spent the night at a hotel. I think it was a Hampton Inn, if I remember correctly. It was a decent hotel, a little bit into town. But then we continued on our way, and we had a blast, and definitely wanted to come back to Dallas. And thank God I was able to get plans put together, because even though the flights were ridiculously expensive, I don't understand. It was expensive for me and my parents to go. I was able to make it, and thank goodness we made it out there. We had a blast in Dallas. So this is definitely becoming something that's going to be an annual tradition for all of us here, especially for me.
Yes, and yes.
As we head into the future, this Airliners International, it's just so amazing that there's something like this that does exist for us aviation enthusiasts. Cool. It's incredible. And the other important thing too, just the friendships that go on with it. I mean, Connor, I've known you for 4 years now. We've been friends for so long, and we only met for the first time about 2 years into that friendship that we
Crazy.
had, which it was surreal to see you for the first time. Just
Bamboozled me too. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. I mean, barely. I mean, now you kind of know who I am, really.
Yes, I do.
So you have that on you now.
I do.
And seeing all the other people there, it was crazy as well. So just having everyone there again, it's surreal when you meet all these people for the first time.
Gotta go to feel it. Words can just words don't work here. They really don't.
Yeah, it just doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. But the point being is when we went for the first time, just meeting everyone there, it was surreal. And I know, Connor, you got to meet a great individual there. His name is Dave Powell, and you two have gone on excellent travels over the last couple of years.
It shows the value.
Yeah, it goes to show, anyone, old and young, you can go out and you can meet these people and you can embark on exciting adventures. And you've been on some really cool stuff. I know you did some stuff in 2023. I'm trying to think of something you did before last summer.
We went to Dallas, Atlanta, and Miami.
So you did a little Dallas, Atlanta, Miami sort of round trip thing. And then you guys went to the Pacific Northwest last summer.
Correct.
Those videos are on the way on your channel.
Just started working on them.
Excited about.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Very excited about that. And you've been on a couple other adventures. I think you did the California Zephyr as well.
Correct.
On that track.
Yes.
And you've been up to his place in Indianapolis a few times. And
yes.
You've got a lot more stuff planned. I know you two. You're definitely going to be embarking on more adventures as we move into the future.
That's correct.
Going to be very exciting. So.
Oh yes.
But yeah, the point we're getting across here, guys, is the friendships that you make with these people that you meet, they can last forever. And just the memories that you make along with them as well, it will also last a lifetime. It's just incredible to be with all these people that are like-minded, and they think the same way with aviation. And you guys, doesn't matter where you come from. They all come out here.
Aviation is aviation. Corner, friendships are friendships.
It's just incredible.
Go watch the banquet speech.
Yeah, Connor made a really fantastic banquet speech last year in Dallas, up there at the podium with Dave. Just a great way to put it, and he puts it into some really good words. The socialization is just off the charts with airliners. And then now, kind of round it off here, and our recording is gone for quite some time. So if you're still listening to this, guys, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Taking some time. Hopefully you have made some popcorn in the time prior to this podcast starting for you, and you've been able to consume it and enjoy it. Provide some overall thoughts. We'll go ahead and just kind of go around the table here, and everyone can pitch in and say what you want to say about the convention overall.
Who's starting?
Maybe we can start with Connor. You said something first, so we can go ahead and start with you.
Yeah, really, it's just been a huge highlight of my life, and obviously working off of social media with aviation for nearly a decade without in-person interaction has been tough at times. And there was times in middle school and high school that I almost fell off of aviation just because that there wasn't enough interaction. You can do a crazy amount obviously with technology, but there's only so much you can do. So I nearly fell off a couple times, and I went a couple of different ways during those academic times. And then finally, during my senior year of high school, I was fortunate enough to hear about Airliners International, which at this point I was well invested, but this certainly solidified my aviation passion and soon to be career. With obviously finally attending an event, obviously I've met people in real life at this point, and I've, went spotting with them, so on and so forth. But no, not even a match compared to meeting thousands of people, and that's a little bit off the chart there. But seeing thousands of aviation enthusiasts and meeting hundreds of them and just talking with everybody, having a great time. I really can't do words. I still get emotional about Chicago. I know that sounds ridiculous, but really, I mean, I'm looking at my America 777 here that I got for $95, and then just thinking about that and seeing JJ for the first time, the British Airways A380 taking off, everybody being so excited that it went on the south side for the better lighting, and just all the small details on that. I mean, I was in Chicago a couple of weeks ago for that show that JJ mentioned previously, and I was getting close to tearing up walking through TSA. I was struggling, and it goes farther than that. I've been in that airport a couple times for some very important parts of my life, but definitely Airliners International and the memories there. Just it's off the charts for me, and I know that I probably advertise it maybe arguably more than what I should, but I just want to give people that same experience, and I think that it's so valuable to the community and, aviation. I want people that, came from my story, and JJ has a similar one too, that didn't have anybody in high school or middle school that they were able to interact with in aviation, just be able to have this comfort and just look forward to this one time a year when everybody can come together. You could just escape your entire life just to have the best 5 days of your life. Just enjoy planes and love the process, hang out with everybody, talk. Again, it's just the small details like that. And I could ramble about this for hours, and I'm sure in a future episode we will, but O'Hare Plane Spotting on Instagram. I haven't seen him since last time in Chicago for Airliners 2022. And then I finally saw him a couple weeks ago, and that was just so awesome. So that was great. AS Aviation, I've never met him prior to that. We had that whole trivia contest in the lobby of the Hilton Rosemont. It's just going back to these places and just thinking about the full process of how we've got here. You mentioned my friendship with Dave and how valuable that's been to my life, not to mention everybody else I've met and traveled with. Heck, again, the two of us, Dave and I, met David Wing on top of the Dallas Love Field parking garage last year, and the three of us plus Anderson went to Atlanta to that collectible show. So I mean, just what comes together from these trips is truly incredible, and it's so much fun. And friendships is a really valuable part of it. I know it's a different focal point for everybody, but at least for me personally, I think most people would relate that the friendships is so valuable, but it's just the right amount of aviation to go with it. And obviously that's a main focal point, and it goes even farther than that. People like Star Alliance, man, that I've been watching on YouTube since I was 9 years old, and to see them and interact with them, it's just like, dude, I literally got to tell you that I watched your videos when I was 4 foot tall. It's small details like that. We could talk about it for an extremely long time, but to put it into words, it is astronomical to my life. It gives me so much to look forward to, so many great memories to reflect on when I'm making these videos. And again, I just want to give people the same opportunity that I had, because I would be possibly in shambles compared to, I can't see myself without it. I really can't. I just don't know how life would have went if I wouldn't have been able to do this, because I definitely wouldn't be flying as much. I definitely wouldn't be exploring the world as much, and I certainly wouldn't have met all of you. So I mean, I just don't know what life would have been like, and it just exposed me to better opportunities and to grow my character and who I am. I can only do so much aviation-wise when I live in a town of 8,000 people. So we could go on about it for days, but what I think really stands out here is the opportunities, the friendships, the right amount of aviation, but really just, it's for you, and that's just so great. And I just love what we're doing, and I'm so stoked for the future, so many enhancements to come, but the fundamentals will always be there, and I think that my story very well describes it. So hopefully that was of immense value, and why it's so important to attend Airliners International as an aviation enthusiast.
Yeah, I mean, the emotion part of it, when you were talking about going through TSA in Chicago when you were there just a couple weeks ago, I just think back to last year in Dallas when we all had to part ways and, go back to our daily lives. I mean, it's hard to do it when you've been with these people for 3 straight days. I mean, I know one guy
it's fast, but it's slow. It's fast, but it's slow.
I know one guy that wanted to be with us for probably 3 more days if he had the time, but just, God, it was just so sad just to see them leave. I mean, I just felt I almost cried when I remember.
It kicked to me for sure. I can tell you that every single time.
Yep. And I know, Anderson, you had similar emotions too when you had to leave last time in Dallas. I mean, I remember hearing about it after it. It sounded tough, but
it was not pleasant.
Yeah, it was,
melancholy.
Yep. Well, as they say, all good things must come to an end. But it also goes to show that people that don't genuinely enjoy stuff like this wouldn't have these kinds of reactions when it all came to a close. When you see
True.
these reactions from, people like Anderson or Gavin or whoever else that was there in like Dallas last year, if they're getting a little sad that it's coming to an end and, even crying, to me, it shows that there's genuine enjoyment to be had with this convention amongst even a younger audience. I certainly think that Airliners International has a very stable future ahead of it. Whenever, Chris, Bill, and all those guys, when they step down in possibly a few years and we have this next group of people that take over and start to run the show, it will have a very stable foundation to lay itself upon and last for another 50 plus years. I am certainly excited to be a part of this next generation. I know a lot of others are too. I know, Connor, you've been trying to pitch in so much assistance to this convention because this is something that you are really passionate about.
I want
And it's
people to
something
have
that I
the
am on,
opportunity
too.
that I had, dude. Again, I mentioned it once, and I'll mention it again for reinforcement.
Yeah.
But I would be lost. Well, I mean, obviously, life would have been different, but I just don't know how it would have went.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with that. I don't know where I would have been if I didn't start making YouTube videos because, you touched on it earlier. When I was in school, I could barely connect with anyone. I didn't really know anyone else that was into airplanes as much as I was.
Admitting
I was kind
that
of
is
ousted.
hard, dude.
Yeah, I was kind of ousted, and I couldn't really connect with anybody. It was hard for me, but I powered through it. I went through it and kept making the YouTube videos even when there was discouraging moments at times, and even people that I trusted, they would say silly stuff about my YouTube, and it's like, why do I even trust you? But nevertheless, I kept going, and here we are today. I'm very glad to be in this position, to be with these kinds of people. It gives me purpose.
Yes.
It gives me meaning, and it just makes me so happy to be with every one of you. That got a little more emotional than I thought it would there at the end, but
true statement.
That's just the importance of stuff like this. You coming together with these people and interacting with them. It's just so important to have these kinds of friendships in your life, whether it be with people that are from hundreds or thousands of miles away, or even people that live in the same town as you. Just find those friends out there and connect with them, because then they'll stay with you for a very long time, possibly the rest of your life if you're lucky. You want to make sure that they stay with you for that long. You want those friendships to last forever, and I certainly desire for these to last forever as well. Okay. So I'll hand the torch off to Mark and Anderson if you guys want to provide any of your last thoughts before we round out the podcast here. Go ahead.
Want to go first, Mark?
Sure. Oh, well, sorry.
You're good.
I would say, I couldn't agree with what y'all said more. I'm not sure how much more I could add because y'all said it perfectly, but whatever, if you're listening, whatever your, situation out there, if you're having a hard time being an aviation enthusiast because people out there are the way that they are, I'll just put it that way. Try to attend airliners if at all possible, because, I didn't have people. I had a couple here and there that I could connect with as far as, with aviation, but nothing that's lasted, very long, because obviously, when I was younger, there was no internet. So, I didn't know about this convention until, I started, talking to everyone else. And, nowadays, because people, back in the day weren't as nasty as a lot of them are now. And, this could be a way to reinvigorate your passion for, or to at least keep it in aviation. So if at all possible, go to the convention, and then you'll find out exactly that how wonderful people in the aviation community are, and that there are people out there that do think the way you do about aviation and are just as passionate about aviation. Because, I mean, if you've listened to any media reports in the last couple years, they need pilots and aviation professionals more than ever right now. And it's people who love aviation and people like us that go to events like this that will keep aviation around. Because what if there were, oh, well, the entire air system of the United States is going to have to shut down because there aren't enough people that want to be pilots. Imagine if something like that were to happen. Just, think about the implications of everybody falling out of love with aviation. And it's not something you do think about, but think about, just briefly what that would entail for civilization. If they're just, well, people hate aviation now, so we're going to just have to get rid of all the airlines. I mean, imagine that. It's unimaginable. But, airliners, just like Connor and JJ said, it's amazing. You can not only, meeting people, that's a very huge part of it, don't get me wrong. But if you collect stuff, if you are interested in airline history, in whatever facet of airline history, books, timetables, models, any of that stuff, this is the best place to find a huge collection of it that you may not be able to find elsewhere, or you would have to pay a ton more money than elsewhere than you would at this convention. So before I keep rambling, then I'll pass the torch on to Anderson if he has anything else.
Oh man, where do I even begin? I agree with everything that all of you have said. Basically, all I can say is just that I agree that it's opened my eyes to a lot more opportunities of events in the future to attend, and different ways to connect with people that I may not have been able to do prior to Airliners. In reference to what was said about hardships, for all intents and purposes, in being involved in this community, I've been picked on a lot at school for stuff like this, and I basically what I did, I just ignored it and kept doing what I was doing, and a lot of those people, well, really two of them, who kind of made fun of me a little bit for it and picked on me often, have actually gone up to the airport to plane spot with me, even though they know nothing about aviation. They've actually kind of been interested in why I go up there, and they've gone with me a few times. It's just been a lot of fun. So that's not going to be the case for everyone, but for me, that's how it was. And just keep doing what you're doing and connect with more people, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of had the same experience too. A few of them that would want to, they just look at me weird. It's like, what are you talking about with all these planes? Now, every so often, I don't really talk to many of them anymore, but a couple of them, they see my content, and they kind of follow along, see what I'm doing. I don't know exactly to what extent, but even still, they know that I'm doing this kind of stuff on a regular basis. So I think, perhaps they're maybe interested and they want to see what this is all about. They want to, go to the airport, see what's happening, at my airport in Sioux Falls even. They just want to see what this is all about, because it does seem more intriguing to them now than what it did, say 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Whatever time it would have been in high school, middle school for, the three of us here, all except Mark, since obviously he's more veteran within life. He's been in school much long ago, but yeah. And then going back as well to what Mark said, come out to Airliners. If you're not able to come out to the big show, there's tons of these regional one-day collectible shows across the U.S. and Europe, and I'll point out a few of them. Los Angeles is having theirs on June 1st. Brussels has one as well over in Europe. Manchester, July 27th, 28th. Cleveland, August 24th. Newark, September 7th. San Francisco, September 21st. Atlanta, October 5th. Minneapolis, October 12th. I'm going to try and get to that one, hopefully. Toronto, October 20th. Frankfurt, November 9th. And Houston, December 7th. So that's all the shows that we have here in 2024. There's been a couple that have been announced for 2025 as well, and Connor can input that as well because I think he knows a couple of them now that have been announced for 2025. I think there may have been a couple in the U.S. that have been announced already.
I want to say Atlanta was like October 6th, maybe it's somewhere in that range. And then I know Frankfurt has one for maybe like November 9th, 2025. And Dallas is April 26th, 2025. And we should be getting information about LA and San Francisco's first winter ones here pretty soon as well. So we're going to have quite an awesome lineups of shows in 2025 as well.
Yep. And wherever Airliners is going next.
Oh,
year,
yes.
We're still waiting to hear back on what it could be. I'm thinking it's going to be Atlanta. I think all the signs point to it because I know Connor, he's been telling me that you're going to have to fly to this next one. Which, if it's Atlanta, that's great because there's a Delta Flight Museum right there. I want to be around all those widget planes because oh my God, it's just be incredible to be around those.
I'm just going off of logic. MSP would be pretty much the only one you could drive to most likely, and I don't think it's at MSP. So we'll have to see where it's going to be, but you're probably going to have to fly to it.
Yep. Or it could be LA. LA would be nice as well because
Yes.
of the fantastic international variety they get from both trans-Pacific and transatlantic flights, and even some stuff in like South America or even Africa. I think a couple African carriers may fly out there all the way, but I could be wrong on that. Let's see what else. I think Boston, I think I brought that up as well to you guys. And other conversations we've had. And Miami, I think, is another one, too, that could be brought up as well. So there's several options out there with big cities, and those would be great for spotting meetups and stuff. So hopefully it's one of those big cities. I would want for it to be Atlanta because that'd be nice. I'd love to spot there. Big Delta hub, the flagship Delta hub, if you will, their headquarters and all that. So it would be really nice to spot there and have a bunch of fun with people there again in 2025. So hopefully we'll get some information on that pretty soon. So that is everything we have for you guys on this Airliners International podcast. We thank you so much for tuning in on this wonderful day and listening to our thoughts on airliners and what we all had to say on it. And again, Connor, Mark, Anderson, it was great to have you guys here.
Thank you very much
for hopping on board.
Thank you.
Yep, great to talk with you guys again, and we'll certainly have a lot more fun memories that we'll make together in Kansas City, and we'll be sure to do another episode after Airliners International 2024 in Kansas City. I encourage you to register and attend this convention June 26th through 29th at the Hilton Kansas City Airport Hotel. And we'll be posting information about the 2025 convention wherever that might be when that information is announced. Be sure to register and you'll get the latest updates right into your inbox from Airliners International on any news, updates, whatever they have for the 2025 convention, if they'll have anything new here pretty soon. The only thing they have yet to announce for 2024 is the seminar list, and hopefully they'll have that out soon. But there's lots of information that we'll be going over here over the next few weeks. Again, we're 28 days away from this podcast being recorded. It'll be a little less when this comes out, so be sure to come on out. We would love to have you all out here. It's just incredible to be out here. So with that, thanks again for tuning in. Appreciate all of your guys' time. And we'll see you guys in the next episode of this Airliners International podcast.